funding following the referendum in 2004. The European Union recognized Turkish Cypriot as European citizens and decided to support their economic development for the overall objective of the reunification of the solution of Cyprus issue. So as part of this aid program for the Turkish Cypriot community, there are 5 objectives, and one of the objectives is reconciliation, confidence building measures, and support to civil society. As part of this, so for the main objective of the one of the main objectives of this aid program is the support to civil society. And within this objective, so far there have been, as I said, 6 calls for proposal to support civil society organizations, and the present one is the seventh call for proposal. So the overall total amount was 12 million so far. And we've supported close to 60 organizations, so quite a few. So the current guidelines, as they will be presented to you later, they also come from several meetings and discussions we've had in the past 2 3 years. And also from an evaluation. So in December, some of you might remember, we had this meeting where, as many organizations could, Turkish Cypriot organization participated, and they share their wills, their ideas about how the next call for proposal should look like. So the guidelines are the output of these as far as was possible, because European Union's procedures don't always allow for everything to be included in the guidelines, but we've tried our best to reflect on these discussions, and also on the evaluation of the previous. So CS4 and CS5 stand for Cypriot Civil Society in Action 4 and 5 grant schemes. So not the last one, but the 2 previous ones, to reflect on also what civil society organizations wanted to let us know. Voilà. So what are the guidelines? The guidelines are, so it's written on the slide, the rule of the game. And this is, I think I want to insist on this, they will always prevail. So if there is any discussion or any question, it will be the guidelines, and then potentially as well our answer to official answer to questions. It's not going to be, even what I say now will not prevail. So the written guidelines will always be the legal binding structure. So if someone tells you, yes, I know you can do that because I know it. No, to make sure, go back to the guidelines and check what's written there. If you don't understand, or if you think that something is not clear, then you ask an official question to the functional mailbox. I will give you the mailbox, the email again later on. But yes, don't, no hearsay, no, I think so. No, it's always go back. It should be written there. If it's not, then you can ask a question. They can be found on the Europaid website under this reference 169, 185. I think the link has been shared on GST's website, on Civic Space website, so you should be able to find it. There is also a link at the end of the presentation, so you will be able to follow, to access all the information. The guidelines are not only, I mean, the main document is obviously the one where you have all the information that we will discuss later on, but also all the annexes. It's a bit overwhelming, but yeah, there are many annexes to also prepare. So, but yeah, just to, so you know, at the moment we are going to speak mostly about the main document where you have all the rules about eligibility and so on. So as you see, they include the objective, the priorities, the eligibility rules, the procedures, the selection and award criteria. We are going to detail all this now. The global objective of the call for proposal is written there: to support democratic governance in the Turkish Cypriot community by reinforcing relevance, effectiveness and impact of the independent, accountable and transparent civil society organizations that are committed to social progress and to the fundamental values of peace, freedom, equal rights and human dignity, and that work for the benefit of the public. So this is the main objective of this call for proposal, and your action, your proposed action should fit, should contribute to this global objective. Similarly, specific objectives, we want to have projects that pursue meaningful socio-economic changing by participating in policy and decision making and implementation, influencing change at local and also European Union level, fostering collaboration and partnership, including in the dialogue between the Cypriot communities and in sectoral cooperation. So as I said at the beginning, the European Union funded aid program for the Turkish Cypriot community. Its main objective is eventually the finding of a solution for the Cyprus issue. So that's why we insist a lot on the collaboration and partnership among Turkish Cypriot CSOs, but also across the Green Line and with the different Cypriot communities. I know that at the moment it's obviously not an ideal situation for such for Cypriot communities to meet regularly and easily. However, we hope that in the future it will ease and that we can go back to normal. Otherwise, we can always use online meeting options, which are obviously not as good, but okay, at the moment we can do with this. Priorities. So the call for proposal has mandatory and optional priorities. So the mandatory one is civil society capacity building. So basically any action that will any applicant to this call for proposals should include in its action civil society capacity building. This will be mandatory. Optional, at least one of the priorities below, so environment and climate change, and human rights, and good governance, and social inclusion and youth participation, and media literacy and promotion of ethical journalism. So as I said, there will be minimum 2 priorities that will be addressed. One will be the capacity building, so that will be one mandatory, and then you should propose an action that fits one of the other, at least one of the other priorities that's listed there. The guidelines also specifies value-added elements. So these will be, we will receive many applications. We will need to select them. There will be, I will explain later on how we do this selection. However, we will also consider these value-added elements, and they are part of the evaluation grids that we will talk about later. And these value-added elements are there. So the actions that would reach out to remote areas or marginalized communities, actions that are implemented in cooperation with other projects and other initiatives. So here again, we insist on the cooperation. We think it's very, very critical, especially even in areas like I'm talking about later on. We will mention it as well. But even cooperation across issues like climate change or human rights is usually easier to act on something taking into consideration other actors rather than alone on its side, because usually we are stronger when we act together. Another value-added element is the promotion of network or platforms. So we are in the same line as the previous one on the cooperation part. Foster collaboration and dialogue between the Cypriot communities. As I mentioned before, it's a very important issue for the European Union and Cyprus in general. Include a rights-based approach, gender perspective, and sustainable development goals. So this is also very important for the EU. All the rights-based approach and the gender perspective and sustainable development goals are usually called cross-cutting issues in the EU language. And so yes, this is something that we value in proposals. If an action proposes inclusion of people with disabilities and minority groups. And finally, but this is only for lot 2, and we will explain later, if the action proposes financing to third parties, so this is one part. So for lot 2, and the other option is for the other value added is for in the lot 2, if a lead applicant is acting with a co-applicant that has not benefited from Cypriot Civil Society in Action 4, 5, and 6. So the idea here is to encourage lead applicants that have already benefited from EU funding, for instance, that are applying with a co-applicant to train or to ensure the capacity building of the co-applicant. So this would be seen as value added during the evaluation. This call for proposal is the target group is civil society organizations, civil society and civil society organizations. So here it's a long definition, to quite inclusive, I would say. All non-state, not-for-profit. So I highlighted it because I think it's the important part in the whole paragraph. Everything is important, but this one should stick. Non-partisan civil society groups, through which people in the Turkish Cypriot community organize to pursue shared objectives and ideals, whether political, cultural, social, or economic, operating from the local to regional and international levels, urban and rural, formal and informal organizations. And at the second paragraph lists all the potential civil society organizations or groups. As you will see, it's very broad. So membership-based, cause-based, service-oriented, community-based, non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations, foundations, research institutions, gender and LGBT organizations, cooperatives, professional and business association, if they are non-for-profit, not-for-profit media, trade unions, and employers organizations. So very broad target group. And we will see later on the eligibility criteria, so it will be detailed further. This I like tables, so I included a table to try and be as synthetic as possible. But as Alexandra said at the beginning, obviously, if you have questions, I hope I'm not going too fast, but if you have questions, we can go back on also on the slides if need be. And as I said, everything is taken from the guidelines. So everything is there as well in written in the guidelines. So this call for proposal is 2 million euros in total. So that's the overall envelope that that we have been given by the European Union. These 2 million are shared between two lots, lot 1 and lot 2. Lot 1 has 400,000 euros and lot 2 1,600,000 euros. In case we don't have enough quality or number of applications for one of the lots, and we have let's say money left on one of the lot, we could use it for the other lot and vice versa. So this will be later on at the evaluation stage. The size of the grants is different. So for lot 1, you have the minimum application should be action should be budget requested. So it should be 30,000 euros and maximum 60,000. And for lot 2, it should be from 75,000 euros until 320,000 euros. The eligibility, we will speak further in more detail, but this is more of a summary. The entity without legal personality can apply in lot 1, but not in lot 2. We will detail, I will insist on this later. The duration can be shorter for lot 1, so from 6 months to 36 months, while lot 2, the duration is from 24 to 36 months. Financial support to third parties, we will also detail later. Is not possible for lot 1. It is possible for lot 2. The priorities are the same for both lots. So the priorities I mentioned earlier, the mandatory one and the optional. So the mandatory civil society capacity building and the optional ones are the same. So lot 1 and lot 2, and that's why we included many priorities, it's quite comprehensive, are the same. So lot 1 and lot 2 can have the same sort of projects in terms of their priorities. And the EU contribution, so as we will also mention it later, the EU contribution is never for grants, for in very rare cases only does the EU contribution reach 100%. So usually when you apply for a project, it means that the applicant will contribute in some way to the project with its own means. So in our case, we ask for the applicants to ask either for the minimum of 60% of EU funding and up to 95%. So meaning in the minimum case, the applicant would have to provide 40% of the budget, and in the maximum case, they would have to provide 5% of the total eligible cost. So this is this is important to keep in mind, because this will also influence how much you want to ask, because 5% of 30,000 is not a lot, but 5% of 320,000 euros is more money. So this you have to keep in mind on how you will contribute these 5% or more if you decide to go for a lower percentage. This is something you have to you don't have necessarily to specify in your offer where you're going to, where these funds will come from. However, please be aware that you will not be able to, the European Union will not reimburse 100% of all your costs. It will always be 95, maximum 95%. So here we come to the eligibility criteria that I already mentioned in the previous slide, where we have this entity without legal personality. So for lot 1, we have the following requirements. For the lead applicants, I'm talking now about the lead applicant, and I will mention later for the co-applicant. So there are several requirements. The applicant should be a legal person, so that's an association. I'm thinking of a legal person, so that has a document that proves that they are registered. An entity without legal personality, or a natural person. A natural person is an individual. The entity without legal personality, this is something that is allowed, it's considered as an exception by the European Union. And this exception is mainly for associations, stable entities with common structure, so they have like secretariat or a board, etc. But they don't have a formal legal personality. So this is what we hear by entity without legal personality. So it's mostly, I would say, yes, an association or a group that has a common structure and that is not yet registered, or that didn't want to go and register, because some let's say an association can decide to operate but without registering. This will need to be, they would need to meet some conditions to have this, to apply under this this status. Their representative need to have the capacity to undertake the legal obligation on behalf of the entity. So you need to have, the representative needs to be able to show that they can represent the entity. The entity needs to also have financial and operational capacity that are more or less the same as a legal person. So this will be detailed a bit later on in a presentation on PADOR and prospect. But yes, this is something that it's new. It was not included in the previous call. But yeah, this is what we mean by entity without legal personality. So it's an exception, but it's and it's aimed mainly at association that don't that have their own activities but don't have a formal legal personality. It should be non-profit making. So here again, we insist on the non-profit because it's for civil society, and it's a call for proposal for civil society. It's not for businesses. It's not for small enterprises. It's for association and non-profit making entities. The lead applicant should also be a civil society organization. So a civil society organization can be, as we've seen before in the target group, it's very broad. So in this case, if you are an entity without legal personality, and so you are not yet registered as a, or you don't want to register as a civil society organization, but you might have a document or self-declaration or statutes, informal statute that can prove that you are a civil society organization. If you are natural person in that case would be we would consider an organization as 2 members and plus. So just 1 person only will not be a civil society organization, but 2 person or more, 3 or 4 and 5, etc., will can constitute a civil society organization. As we mentioned earlier, that the definition is very broad. It should be, the lead applicant should be established in the northern part of Cyprus. So here again, should have some sort of document, but this will be detailed later. And this is always in the document. It should be directly responsible for all the actions. So the preparation, the management, implementation of the action, and it shouldn't be an intermediary. This is very standard in our call for proposals. And there are 2 more criteria for the lead applicant. It shouldn't have been awarded a grant under the Cypriot Civil Society in Action VI grants. So neither lead applicant nor co-applicant, and not awarded a grant under the Cypriot Civil Society in Action V as the lead applicant. These last 2 criteria, they are here to encourage associations or associations that have not benefited from EU funding in the past, because this was one of the complaints, I would say, from organizations through different media and as I mentioned earlier, the discussion we had in last December, the evaluation of the previous grant schemes have shown that associations were complaining that it was mainly the same applicants that were getting EU funding. So here we want to leave, as much chance as possible to new or not necessarily new, but either smaller or new association, or associations that have never benefited from EU funding in the past. The lot 2 requirements for the lead applicants, the lead applicants are very similar to what we used to have in a previous call for proposals, legal person. So in that case, you don't have, as we mentioned earlier, we don't have the possibility to be a natural person or an entity without legal personality. The applicant should be also non-profit making, a civil society organization established in the northern part of Cyprus, and not an intermediary. The co-applicants, lot 1 and lot 2, in that case, the co-applicants, they should meet the same criteria as the lead applicant of their own lot. So that's, I put the legal person, the non-profit making, civil society organization, and there is an extra criteria. They can be legally established in the northern part of Cyprus, or, so this is the difference, in a member state of the European Union, on the territory of a member state of the European Economic Area, on the territory of a candidate countries for accession to the European Union. So we have here, this is the possibility for co-applicants to be not only established in the northern part of Cyprus, but in other areas. So, for instance, we had cases before of project where the co-applicant was from Italy, or from Ireland, or from Cyprus, or from so all these. This is what this is why we included these different location, because we want the co-applicant. The co-applicant can be from obviously the northern part of Cyprus, but also these other places. the co-applicant will have to sign a mandate. So usually co-applicants, they don't have as many requirement as the lead applicant, but they still have to sign a mandate. And here, that's where I mentioned earlier that there in an annex, which is mentioned in this is sorry, the annex. All the annexes are available on the Europaid website. This is, I would say, this is a detail, but I mention it here just for co-applicants to be aware of this. So now we will mention this financial support to third parties, which we said that it was not possible for lot 1 to propose this. Also for different reasons. First of all, is because we are targeting under lot 1, we are targeting associations that are less used to EU procedures, so this is an extra burden we don't want to impose on them. It's also because the amount is the amounts are lower, so we think that it will be difficult to have a project that is also doing financial to third party and its own action, let's say. Lot 2. So this financial support to third parties is possible for lot 2 applicants, and as we've said before, it's also considered a value added of the proposal. The maximum amount is 10,000, so 10,000 or less. So each third party can get 10,000 or less, and a project can propose up to 60,000 of fund to third parties. So meaning that if each third party gets 10,000, then it's a maximum of six third parties supported. I think it's also important to note, and I didn't include it in the slide, but it's detailed on page 16 of the guidelines. The project that will be selected to be funded should meet the objectives of the guidelines. So there should also be civil society organizations or activists. But it should be it should not be used as a means to fund profit-making action, or even it cannot be used to fund co-funding. So you cannot apply for that to help association to co-fund the other EU grants, because the European Union is very clear on the fact that we cannot give several grants to the same. We cannot have, we have to be giving to everyone, not to same person twice in the same grant scheme, and yes, and it can also not be, in that case, in the case of the financial support to third parties, they will we will ask the action not to ask for co-financing for this 10,000 euros or less. Meaning that the action for this particular case, the third party will be asking for, let's say, 8,000, and if they spend 8,000, they will get this 8,000. They will not be requested to provide their own co-financing for this small action. And yes, and yeah, very important to if you want more detail on this, to check on page 16. Here is the number of applications and grant per applicants. So the lead applicant can only submit one application per lot under this call for proposal. So if you want to, you can apply to both lots, but only once, one proposition per lot, not more than that, as a lead applicant. The lead applicant will only be awarded one grant. So either on, if they have 2 applications, they will be granted only, and if the 2 applications are relevant and accepted, there will be only one that will be granted. The lead applicant may be a co-applicant or an affiliated entity in another applications at the same time. So this is, you can apply as a lead applicant in lot 2 and be a co-applicant in lot 1, for instance. A co-applicant, maybe the co-applicant or affiliated in more than one application. So you can be a co-applicant with a lead applicant on lot 1 and with another lead applicant on lot 2, for instance, or even a co-applicant in with a lead applicant under lot 1 with two different lead applicants under lot 1. Co-applicants may be awarded more than one grant under this call for proposal. So you can be a co-applicant in more than, you can be a co-applicant in you can be with more than one project. So let's say in 2 winning offers, you are the lead applicant and a co-applicant, and you can be, you can be, this will not be a reason for rejection. Okay, eligible action. So we've already talked about the different, so the objective, the priorities, the different criteria, so the duration, the amount, the eligibility, etc. And one aspect we haven't noticed is the fact that the action should take place primarily in the northern part of Cyprus. However, some of the activities may take place in other places in the member state of the European Union, in a member state of the European Economic Area, or in one of the candidate countries for accession to the European Union. So I wanted to stress this here because you cannot apply and say, I'm going to implement everything in Serbia. This doesn't work. You can say, yes, I will, it will take place in Cyprus, I will do in the northern part of Cyprus, I will do this and that, and we will organize a study visit in Serbia. This will be, this is fine. And that's why we mention member state of the economic area, etc. So that you can do some a small part of the action outside the northern part of Cyprus, including obviously in Cyprus and in the Republic of Cyprus. Below I've included a few examples of eligible actions, but there are many more on pages 13 and 14 of the guidelines, and maybe it's already 10 to 10, so yeah. So I'm not, I can read one or two, and then you can further, you will see more examples in the guidelines. So some eligible action will be action concerned with improving regional partnership dialogue among civil society organizations in Cyprus and internationally. Action concerned with developing and or establishing structured and functional mechanism for dialogue between different sectors and between CSOs. So again, the cooperation that we mentioned earlier, a strengthening of planning and management capacity of civil society, increasing visibility of CSO, and contribution to public benefit, to enhance outreach to a wider public and increase civic engagement. So this is again to contribute to the fact that CSOs are more active in the public sphere and monitor policies, etc., etc. So these are so only some examples, and so I don't want to insist too much on this, because we've also given more in the guidelines, and also because these are only examples. So we don't want you to only fit into these, because obviously you might have other ideas. Ineligible action. So this is quite important, because if you propose something which is part of this slide, you will be probably, the action will probably not be considered for funding. Only so actions that are mostly concentrating on individual sponsorships, this will not be accepted. So let's say if you want to apply because you want to participate in a conference, this doesn't work. Individual scholarships as well for studies and training. The European Union is funding a different scholarship program, so this we cannot fund this in this call for proposal. Action that duplicates other EU-funded programs. So this is very important, because, as I said earlier, we cannot be the European Union cannot fund actions that are already funded by the European Union. It's not going to it can, I mean, by the same program, I mean by the European Union. The aid program for the Turkish Cypriot community. So this is an important part. And if there is an action that is proposed in a certain sector or priority that we listed earlier, so climate change, environment, human rights, etc. If the European Union, the aid program for the Turkish Cypriot community is already funding something or an action in the same sector, and if the action is clearly not taking this into consideration, this will not be accepted. So it should be complementary to this action, and that's why I insisted earlier as well on this. Is especially on some areas where it's very, very important to take into consideration what has already been done, what is being done, to try and fit in. Potentially criticize it. It's fine, but to at least acknowledge that there is something already going on, and that you're not going to start from scratch, for instance, or that you're not going to challenge it to the point where everything is meaningless. Obviously, we will not accept actions that are already fully financed by another donor, because then obviously it's useless, and also double funding, which we cannot do. One-off events, such as just one conference, roundtable. So this, if they are part of a wider action, obviously you can, as part of your action, you can organize a conference, but you cannot come and say, I want this money just to organize one conference. It's also related to this individual sponsorship mentioned earlier. This is also because the EU is very, for the EU, the sustainability of the action is very important. So that's also why we don't want to have this one-off events financed. And then the last two parts are important because because we are aiming at supporting civil society. So in this case, we don't want to have actions that are proposing infrastructure or works, especially if they are more than 10% of the budget. And same thing for the equipment. If they are more than 20% of the budget, this will not be considered as an eligible action. eligible costs, so that will be just for to remind you, so all the costs incurred during the implementation. They have to be already indicated in the budget that you will propose. They have to be necessary for the implementation of the action. So obviously you don't put in the budget just whatever you want to buy. You have to explain that how they fit into the action. They have to be identifiable and verifiable. So you need to have all the justification, the documents with you, indicating all the relevant information, dates, signature, amount, etc. And you have to keep them. It's very important, obviously, and so because they will be verified by auditors and by us. They have to be reasonable, obviously, and I will read the red part. So the European Commission may impose modifications. So sometimes just before, if the action is selected, we might ask the grant beneficiary to slightly update their budget just for clerical errors, inaccuracy, or if there are items that are clearly overpriced, for this small modification. And then I want to mention here that the co-financing in kind is allowed, so but only in the form of volunteers' work. So that was also a request or something that was seen as a good point in the discussion we had in December. So we tried to include it here. So meaning that, but this will be later on, during the implementation. However, just keep in mind that the co-financing in kind will be a possibility. So I mentioned earlier, you can ask up to 95% of EU funding for the project. So to cover the 5%, let's say, remaining, part of it can come from volunteers' work. I'm not going to here detail how we are going to check this, because this is more of a technical part, and we can address this during implementation for the selected action. But yes, just bear this in mind for the co-financing part. Ineligible costs. So these are very standard, apart from the fact that in this call, the rent of land, building, and offices where property rights of natural and legal persons have not been respected cannot be eligible. So this is a very important part for the European Union. So everything, anything related to buildings, offices, land, etc., should ensure that property rights are respected. The rest is quite standard. Debts cannot be eligible. Provision for losses, credits to third parties. So here we are credits. So this is not possible.
Hello.
Yes. So financial support to third parties is possible, but not credits, as we said earlier. So you cannot ask third parties to reimburse you, obviously. In-kind contributions are not accepted, but volunteers' work is. So as we mentioned earlier, the budget of the action cannot finance the personnel of local administrations, and And again, anyway, works and infrastructures are not really they are not really allowed apart up to 10%. So it's going to be, but anyway, again the property rights have to be respected. Otherwise, they will be ineligible. So now we are coming to the how to apply part. This is the restricted procedure. So there are two phases. Phase one is the concept note, which is a short introduction presentation of your project. And the deadline for this concept note is 16th of October at 4 o'clock Cyprus time. Just so you know, again, the template for the concept note is attached to the guidelines and on the Europaid website. It should be, it should not be too long because, okay, here it's maximum 5 pages. I know that sometimes we receive maybe up to 7 pages, but it's not necessarily, you know, for you to, it's not necessary for you to spend, you know, to try and put more and more. Here, the quantity is not necessarily going to be rewarded, but it's more, you know, it's very important to be very clear on your objectives, on what you're going to do, on the design, on the relevance, but it's not necessary to write more to gain access to the next stage, which is the full application. Hopefully we'll have a deadline in January, but this will be will have to be confirmed. And the full application, this will be a longer document, but we will do other other info sessions at the full application stage, so I'm not going to detail it too much. The registration in PADOR is obligatory, and the concept note submission should be done via Prospect online. There will be a presentation after on these two PADOR and Prospect name. They are it can be a bit scary when you first hear that, but yes, these are two softwares used by the European Commission to help with the online application to call for proposals. It's not only in Cyprus; it's everywhere in the world. And important point is that the concept note and full application should be in English. So please, you know, if you feel more comfortable writing in Turkish, just make sure that you have someone that can help you with the translating and someone that you trust, so that you're sure that that what is translated is reflect what you want to do. But the English document can only be the one that will be accepted as the official document. So the evaluation procedure. So basically, you will send your concept note mentioned earlier on like five pages of concept note. The template is on the Europaid website. They will be mostly evaluated on the relevance and design of the action. So you will see in the guidelines at the end on page 28, you have the grids that will let you know how points will be given to your proposal. So you will see the grid. They give the relevance of the action. So I'm going to read just one or two part of what we hear by relevance. So how relevant is the proposal to the objectives and priority of the call? Are the expected results aligned with the priorities that we mentioned earlier? How relevant is the proposal to the particular needs and constraints of Cyprus? How clearly defined and strategically chosen are those involved? So all the beneficiaries, the target groups, have their needs been clearly defined? Does the proposal contain particular added value elements? So this is where we have the added value that we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So this is what we hear by relevance. So just bear in mind all these when you write your document, because they will be scored on these different criteria. So I invite you to really check these grids that are, as I said, on page 28 and further and following of the guidelines, because they will let you know how the evaluation committee will score the different applications. Just for your information, the first criteria, so how relevant is the proposal, how the expected results align with the priorities, this is given higher score than the other. So the other are 5 points and this one is 10 points. Then the design of the action, so some example of the how we'll score them, how coherent is the overall design, expected results, does the intervention logic explain the rationale, does the design reflect a good analysis of the problems involved, are the activities feasible and consistent compared to expected results, does the proposal integrate cross-cutting elements such as climate change, environmental issues, promotion of gender equality, so all the cross-cutting issues that we already spoke about. To be able to go to the next step, so the full application, the only applications that have a minimum of 30 points out of 50 can continue to phase 2, and we will take so let's say they are like everyone has more than 30 points because they are all very, very good proposals. We will take the number of proposals will represent, so we will take more than our 2 million budget. We will take up to 250% of the available budget to select how to select the application that go to the next step. And the full applications, just briefly, they will be evaluated. So basically, usually what happens is the score of the concept note is taken, is considered for the full application. So we take this score and then we also check financial and operational capacity, effectiveness and feasibility, and sustainability of the action, which is very important. So that's, and as already mentioned earlier, the budget and cost effectiveness, and as I said, the relevance and design come from the concept note. And then they will be ranked, and so the ones that are the highest, they have a higher score, will be awarded a grant. And then there is just before they are awarded a contract, there is this eligibility verification. So just before we verify that everything is in line with the eligibility criteria that we mentioned earlier in terms of legal personality, the fact that they are non-profit, civil society organization, etc. So we are coming to the end of the presentation. I know it was a bit long, but yeah, the guidelines are a bit long as well. So as I mentioned at the beginning, here is the link to the website, and the reference can be used for easy access to the documents. The link is also available on other platforms, including grant support team and Civic Space, and also the EU info point. There are, this one is the first information session that's organized by the grant support team in English. There will be others in Turkish. Please stay tuned on the GST website and the social media page for dates, because they will also organize trainings later on. There is also Civic Space. I will show you the next slide is on Civic Space help desk support as well. And just here, I want to stress, and I mentioned it at the beginning, if you find anything that is very unclear or you don't understand in the guidelines and you are not sure about your application, please send a message to this long email. I'm sorry, but it's a very long email. Reform Cyprus Settlement Support, CS7. Please send a message and stating your question. We do not answer questions individually, so you cannot ask a question specific to your case. I mean, we will not, you can ask a question specific to your case, but we will not answer specifically to you. We will answer as we have a question and answer document where we answer all the questions officially, so everyone can read the answer. So if you have a question which is specific to your case, you ask it, but then just bear in mind that you will not receive an email back, but you will the answer to your question will be in the question and answer document that will be sent latest on the 6th of October. We will try, if we have many questions before the 6th of October, we will obviously try and do a first question and answer before that, and then the latest one on the 6th at the latest. But you're just take this date you know, mark this date in your calendar. 25th of September is the last date to ask these clarification requests, like officially on the official email address. So after that, technically, we won't be able to, or we won't be able to give you an official answer. Yes, just don't expect an individual answer to your email. We will answer by this official question and answer document. And then the help desk I was mentioning from Civic Space. Some of you may already be aware that they have this opportunity. It's not only during calls for proposals. They have it. They offer it throughout the year. But in case when there is a call for proposals, the help desk can be used for this to get some support on the application. So here there is the email address, the phone number, and the website if you want more information. Maybe later on, I don't know if I don't know if there is a participant from Civic Space, and if they want to have to quickly say a few words, it's not a problem for me. So that's the end of the presentation. I will hand the floor to you, Alexandra Ochidem.
Thanks, Emily. Thank you very much for the presentation. I can see that Selen is here. Selen, if you would like to maybe say a couple of sentences about Civic Space help desks.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, and thanks for this comprehensive presentation, dear Emily. Yes, well, we can, as usual, as we also did in previous call for proposals, we can still and continuously provide the CSOs or the informal groups in preparing their concept notes. What we can very briefly, some bullet points that I can mention in terms of the help desk support we can provide is that, for example, we can provide some help desk in designing your projects, meaning that in doing some problem tree analysis, so-called, in identifying your objectives, in how to mainstream the rights-based approach or the gender perspective or the SDGs in your actions, any advocacy or communication plans that you want to mainstream or include in your actions, we can also provide you with that. We can also maybe discuss with you and provide you maybe with insights into the relevance of your proposed project with the priorities of the call for proposals. We can maybe have a last look in your written concept note before you submit and maybe provide you with some improvement recommendations. In addition, we can also provide with partner search, both from the Turkish Cypriot community, the Greek Cypriot community, from the EU member states or IPA countries. Surely we cannot guarantee to find you partners, but what we can do, at least we can give you some organizations' names on the relevant topic that you will be proposing your action on, and then maybe put you in contact with them. But what we cannot do, we cannot provide you the technical support on PADOR or Prospect. We cannot write your project, of course, on behalf of you. What we only do is a more tailor-made support that we can provide in writing, to you in writing or designing your actions or concept notes. Or of course, we cannot provide you with direct answers with regards to the eligibility of the applicant, etc. All we can provide is some insights and some improvement recommendations. But we need you to make appointments, as Emily was mentioning, from our emails or from the phone numbers, and accordingly we can try to provide the support you all need. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thanks, Ellen. I mean, from my point, based on experience, I would urge all the applicants, potential applicants, to contact Civic Space as soon as possible, you know, because of course there are deadlines, and I mean, if you need support, it's better to be, you know, like to ask sooner than later, to make an appointment, as Ellen mentioned. My colleague Nilay from GST will also speak a little bit about PADOR and Prospect. You've heard the mention of these strange abbreviations, and it's a technical matter. It may be a bit, you know, like complicated when you first look at it, but I mean, we are here to support you regarding PADOR and Prospect registration. It's an easy process at the end of the day. Nilay will just briefly present how it goes, what you need to do to register. And in case there are any questions, she will also provide you details on how to address us, you know, to help you in this business. So Nilay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandra. Hi, everybody. I'm Nilay. I'm a grant expert at the EU grant support team. So I'll briefly and as quickly and as efficiently as possible, I'll try to walk you through PADOR and Prospect. And yes, you can ask more questions, and we will also touch upon this later at our workshops planned in the end of August and in September. So basically, PADOR is the potential applicant data online registration system. And if you're, as an applicant, if you have not registered so far, you need to register. And if previously you have applied for a project, for an EU project, and you do have a registration, you do have a Europe 8 number, you don't need to, and you can't re-register. You will use your Europe 8 number that you already have. But what we will require from you is to have updated information at your system. So even for those who already have the Europe 8 number, please go in and update the information which needs to be updated. And of course, there are several stages, as Emily also mentioned. We are currently at the concept note stage. Later, it will be full application stage, and there is a third stage where the eligibility is checked. Depending on the content of the registration, you can update your information at these various steps. When we will go through now on PADOR, I will mention what is the minimum required at the concept note stage and what can be later updated as well. And there is also this financial information, which actually you should wait for the later stage to be updated. And yes, for those ones, for those new applicants which don't have a Europaid number, it is obligatory to register on PADOR and get this number so that you will be able to upload your project, your proposal on Prospect, which is the other system, other electronic platform where all the applications are received, are accepted by the EU. So the current page that you are seeing right now, we can get to this by just, typing PADOR or EU calls PADOR on Google, and it leads you to this page, International Cooperation and Development page. Then you scroll down and you find equals PADOR, apply for a grant section. In order to create a registration, first you need to log in. You need to have a EU login account, and each applicant needs to have 2 users, so 2 different accounts actually. So let's go in and see how this works. As the first step, you need to go and log in. Let me log out first. So yes, as the first step, if you do have an account, you just log in. If you don't have an account, you need to create an account. And this is the first step where you create your login accounts by providing names, emails, and passwords. So I do already have this, so I'm just jumping. If you can't see create an account on this initial page, go to ECAS and then you will find the create account button. So let's log in. Please bear with me. Yes, once you log in here, in order to be able to open the page, you need to type in PADOR again, or Prospects, which one you want to get into. And then here's the access button to PADOR to register your organization. So this is the first page that you will see. Before creating an organization, the system wants you to check if you don't already have a registration. So you just can't go to create organization because it won't let you basically. So you need to first search. Let's make a search then. We are established in Cyprus. Okay, so an organization in the name of Kaymaklı Village Society does not exist. So now it will let me to create a new account. I have already created an account, mock account for you yesterday. So I will go through that now. Yes. When you click the Create Organization button, this page will open blank with the same sections, same boxes, and you will need to fill these out. And especially these start ones, it won't let you proceed unless you either fill in these or provide the documents for it. But as currently some of these documents are not required, as a trick, basically, we just urge you to upload some blank documents so that you can proceed, basically. But if you can and if you have the documents, you can upload them now, or if you are, you're an established company and you want an applicant which has the European number, you can just upload these. So first of all, you will enter your name if you have any abbreviations. You will enter those, the phone numbers, the relevant emails. Later on, the addresses. We urge you to be consistent with these, so that later on the addresses and the phone numbers do not conflict with the documents that you will provide. So whatever you provide here, they should be consistent. They should be the same on the registration documents that you will also upload. Because basically this information here and the documents you will upload will be extracted to create your create the contract if you are awarded one later on. Yes, basically you fill in the information here, and then we come to legal data. You have to be established as a lead applicant. You have to be established in the northern part of Cyprus. For the co-applicants, they can be established elsewhere as well, as Emily detailed the countries. And then for the legal type, you will either choose private and public law body or natural person, because in this call for proposals, natural persons are also allowed to present proposals. Here, it's a, let me just a moment. I will open a new window as well, because it's better to show you the drop boxes. So anyway, in the meantime, I'm repeating the steps. So. Yes, so this is the blank page. So yes, here you will choose under this call, public law bodies are not one of the eligible applicants to make a proposal. So you will choose this one here, private and public law body, legal form. And then for the legal form, the list is in Greek. So depending on the type of your organization, you can choose union, somateo, or institution, iklima, or if you are an entity without legal personality or a natural person, you can select unknown. You have to be an NGO, so it's yes. And then here at this stage, I mean, as PADOR, as I mentioned, it doesn't allow you to proceed if you don't upload any documents or provide information with the start sections. And also in this case, in the CN stage, it is also required that the statutes or law is uploaded here, or for those for those organizations, those applicants, which, as Emily detailed, they have not yet registered or they don't prefer to be registered, they can upload other, documents to show, for instance, that they are in the process of being established, or they, among themselves, among the members, a certain structure actually exists. So they can upload articles of association or memorandum or an application slip of the registration if they're in the process of being registered. And for the entities, legal personality or natural persons, they can upload the ID of the representative of the natural person here. So left, eventually it will be required. Currently, you can upload an empty document for this. This will be actually checked in the first stage. Then we get to category. Again, you choose what sort of an organization you are, association or other non-state actor, whatever, trade union. In this call for proposals, the applicants should not be profit-making organizations, so default it should be no. Later, if you have a registration number, you can provide it here. I mean, if you are providing anything here, you have to fill all the details in this section. Here, yes, if you are already registered, you can upload your registration document, or if you have some sort of board establishment document, you can put that on. Or if you are, again, like not registered yet, or not going to be registered, you are an entity without legal personality or a natural person, you can upload a bank account to show that you have a legal, you are a legal entity basically. Yes, and if you have some associations or chambers, they do have VAT numbers, you can indicate it here. Later, you need to show your target groups here. You can choose from this list, and you can choose various ones of them. Let's say you can choose 3 and you can see which ones you have chosen. Then the sectors that you are active in, you need to provide those. Let's say in this case, environmental protection, and there is another detailed list here. Let's say, I mean, this organization is active in the environmental sector, especially in environmental education, and their target groups are students, women, and young people. So this is how you show your target groups and the sectors you are dealing with. Again, under sectors, you can choose multiple boxes. Then you need to provide the total number of staff. Again, from the drop list, you can choose. If you want to provide any additional information about your organization, you can provide it here. Then you save and continue. Yeah, so as I have not filled in the sections that are mandatory, it doesn't, I mean, I can proceed, but eventually when I get to the last section where I need to sign, it won't let me sign it off. So I won't be able to create this account. But right now, I can just ignore it and move on. So I'm on the second section, which is financial data. This actually needs to be provided later for the FAF stage, for the full application stage. But again, the system does not let you to proceed to signing off if you don't provide the documents here. So first of all, you need to choose whether you are a lead applicant or a co-applicant. If you are a lead applicant, then you need to fill some figures in. If you are a co-applicant, you don't need to provide any further information on this section. For the financial data, you can just proceed. As you can see, it doesn't let you to enter any data anyway. So you just go on. But if you are a lead applicant, then for this CN concept note stage, you can just trick the system again. You can just write 00 and upload an empty document here, and then it will let you proceed on. So for when we look at the guidelines for the financial data, the lead applicants will be required to provide their financial accounts for the last financial year. So, I mean, first, the applicants, those successful applicants will pass the first stage, the concept note. Then they will be informed to submit their full application forms. And at that stage, for instance, if this is in the next year, the latest financial year perhaps might be 2020, not 2019. So you don't need to do anything right now here, but just fill some figures and upload an empty document so that you can proceed onwards. Here, you will need to provide the sources of your funding. So, like for the last year, you have to do this. Let's say it's donation from the individuals. It's 50% of your resources, and you need to add another one because you need to provide all the information about the total of your resources. Let's say those from the member fees. Then it asks how many members you have, less than 100, and that's the remaining 50%. And you can just add information for the other years as well here. The fifth document will be required in the first step, eligibility check. So again, it is start. You can upload an empty document here. Then for this section, it's not applicable for you because the grant amount is less in this call for proposals. So it's not letting me. Okay, let me just upload some documents quickly, show you. Yes, it's not letting me still. Maybe there's someone recognize data here. Anyway, I can jump to the other one. So basically, this is the same. So yes, here you need to provide the user list. There should be at least 2 users per profile. That's how it works, and you indicate the capacity of each user by ticking these boxes. So whether they can manage the user list, edit profile, or sign the profile off. So complete everything until the end. If you want the user to be like that, then you tick these boxes and then move on. So these two users, you can't just enter emails. They need to have EU login accounts. Then you can register them here, as assign them as users. So first they need to have an EU login account. And then it's the signature page. So yes, once you have provided all the required information, you just tick these boxes and then you sign it off, and you will be given an EU Europaid number once you do this. And the Europaid number that you will be given, it looks something like this. So it's a long ID number, and then you will use this when you will be uploading your proposal on Prospect. So basically this is PADOR. Let's move on to Prospect. So once you get this number, your registration on PADOR is completed. And we urge you to do this well before the deadline for the submission. So if you face any problems, you can consult to us and we can help you. We can arrange appointments to support you to get registration, or if we run into any more technically different problems, we can consult to the IT desk so they can help us to ensure that you have this number. And once this is done, we move on to Prospect, and this is the platform that you will upload your proposal on. So by default, it automatically lists you the ongoing open calls. So here we can see the CS7 call in lot 1 and lot 2. You have to choose which one you are going to apply to which lot. If you can't see them, if it doesn't open in front of you automatically, you can search on the left calls to apply for, and then you can choose it. So let's say we are applying to lot 1. Sorry. This directs me to the web gate. Show you, yeah. So this is the list of all the open ones. I'm going to type in Cyprus, and yes, this is CS7. Apply. Okay, I'm going to apply to lot 1. I've already created my application. So that's the thing. Yes. So let me close the previous one. One. It already recognizes me, so yes. So yeah, this is the first page of Prospect. It will ask you some questions, and also these questions, some of this page are also present on the concept note application form. So as you are going to fill these in here, you don't need to fill these in on the document itself. Does your organization, as an applicant, do you have a Europaid ID number? Yes, no. And then you type in the number, the name, country. You fill out the details here, contact details, contact person details, and the emails, and then the contact person's contact person's contact details. You can just click this if it's the same. So as you can see, there are 5 different sections here. This is the first section where you provide your contact details, and then you move on to the project section. The information here will become very critical. You insert the title of your project, of the action. You will choose the language of the proposal, which is English in this case. You will indicate the grant amount, the EU contribution amount that you are requesting, and the percentage. The duration of the project, and the location of action. As Emily previously mentioned, the majority of the activities have to be in Cyprus, so the location of action is considered as Cyprus. Something to be careful about at this stage, at the concept note stage, is that the amount and the percentage that you will enter here will be binding. So, of course, at this point, you won't have drafted a detailed budget, but you need to have a fair idea of what sort of a grant amount you will be applying, because later in the full application stage, you can only change it by 20%, both the amount, grant amount I'm talking about, and the percentage. So you are allowed to make some changes with limit minus plus limit of 20%, but you cannot exceed that. So it's important what sort of an information you indicate here. That's the details of your project. We move on to the co-applicants page. Here you will provide the names of your co-applicants, and if you have any affiliated entities, those will be indicated here. So I'm going a step back. Currently, at the concept note stage, all lead applicants need to have PADO registration, but for co-applicants, they can do it until the full application stage. So this information should be available latest at the full application submission stage. Let's move on to documents. Again, with the documents, as you can see here, there are sections only related to concept notes. Later, if you are awarded to move on to the, if you are selected to move on to the full application stage, a different section will appear here, which will demand from you to upload, those documents related to the full application. But currently, what you have to upload here is the concept note. There is a standard form as annex to the guidelines, and there you will find a declaration of the applicant. The other documents, they will be required later in the stage. It is indicated here, but you will only need to upload declaration by the applicant at this stage, and later during the FAF stage, the mandate for the applicants and affiliated entity statement, and later, if you are again selected to move on to the first stage, you will be required to submit the declaration of owner, and this will be required only from the lead applicants. I apologize if this is too much information at this stage, but I mean, we want to provide you a general view of also what's going to come and what is actually required right now. Yes, and then there's this section where the overview of everything that you have uploaded, the information that you have provided is seen. Obviously, as we have not provided any information, it is not filled out here, but you will see everything related to your organization, the details of your organization, and also the details of your project, the amount, the title of the project, duration, and your contact person. Also the applicants, co-applicants and the affiliated entities. And the last section is where you just tick this box and you click submit, and you have, I mean, by the time that you have clicked this, you should be, you should ensure that all the information are correct and you have not missed out anything. If you have missed out anything, it won't let you to proceed. Or sorry, that's for PADOR. If you have missed anything or provided the wrong information and you click submit, you cannot go back. So until you get here on this section, please make sure that everything, all the information is correct and you have uploaded the correct versions of the documents, because we have experienced this before where wrong documents were uploaded, and it's a very big problem, and it's very difficult to go back and correct. And I don't, I mean, in my case, I don't have I can't say that it was corrected. So please make sure everything is correct and all the correct documents are uploaded. Then you click submit and your concept note is submitted. And then if you are selected to present your full application, basically you will repeat some of these things for the full application, like from documents onwards and the co-application information and documents. You will do them again at the full application stage. So in a nutshell, let's say, this is PADOR prospect that you will use. If you have any questions, we will be happy to answer you and clarify. Thank you.
Thanks, Nilay, very much for this comprehensive presentation, and also